3, 2, 1, and we are live. Welcome to the Self-Belief Chief podcast, you wonderful people. You're here with David Holman. And if you've ever asked the question, am I good enough? Whether it's in your relationships or your performance or your career or in terms of your health, whatever it might be, then you're in the right place. We're not here to hype you up. We're here to give you strategies and techniques to help you transform your life in those areas. Ones that I've shared with the highest performers, from Olympic athletes to business owners. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, share your favorite episodes, and remember, if you change today, today will change your life. Today's quote is, good stories are driven by conflict, tension, and high stakes. And that is a quote by William Landay. And that brings us on to the conversation we're going to have today. So let's go into the usual summary, shall we? So in this episode, you're going to listen to a conversation between a client and I, who in situations when they feel ignored or rejected or avoided, that they're feeling this extreme tension and wanting to know how can they alleviate that tension so that actually they can have better communication, better conversation, maybe not take it so personally, but just feel that actually they can handle these types of situations, but then follow it up with productive conversations, whether it's in relationships or in business. And I think many of you listening, this will be something that you will experience because no one likes feeling ignored or rejected. No one likes that feeling. But it's the meaning that we give these things that determine how we react to it. And so we're going to go through a few different exercises and explore a few different concepts in this conversation that talk about how actually this particular individual could be handling these situations better, so that he's not feeling such intense pain and such intense tension. Let's get into it. What would make this an extraordinary conversation for you today?
Not feeling I've got to reply, having a reply that I can think, well, I've got 3 replies here. Which one of them is the best reply? Like say with work, a woman gave me a lot of grief yesterday, and I felt I'd said it, and it's, are you the tenant? Are you the person that I should be talking to? And then I just thought, no, let her rant and rave. She's not affecting me. She wants to have her say. So in her world, let her talk to me. So that's where I was, David, yesterday. So I think to feel like I start getting very tense. Does that make sense? To start the physical. We've talked about this before. Get tense. Yeah. So if I get tense, then I start thinking about things negatively. Then that makes this tension worse. Then the next thing I get myself in a rile. I was in a rile state last week about it, but then I sat down, just took it easy, sat down, read my rules again, and thinking, stop thinking that way. Just don't get frustrated by, I think continuously could be the word, because, continuously getting, that's what we've got on there, continuously expecting, continuously would be a good word,
So good. And so if, as you described, if tension is physical,
yeah,
it tells us a good answer. That gives us a good indicator of what we need to do to resolve it. If the tension's physical, then it's probably our physiology that also gets us out of it. Because as just spoken about before, that in terms of that negative emotion, we have a very intense physical reaction. So things like positive thinking don't really work because it's a very casual, low-level feeling. So we want to create an intense emotional reaction on the other side that snaps us out of it. And that's, in terms of some of the reading you've been doing, that's sort of what that principle is how do we create an intense emotional reaction the other way that completely gets us out of our headspace? So if the word is tension, what do you think your rule has been? What do you think your rule has been for tension? Because it sounds like maybe something, at least fairly recently, it's not been too difficult for you to feel tense. It's almost like, if this happens, I will feel tense, or if this happens, I will feel tense. So you probably got a very simple rule. As I said, once upon a time, my rule for frustration was when someone didn't do something the way I would have done it. Well, that's going to happen all of the time, so I'd feel frustrated all the time. And so you might have a rule for tension, for feeling tense at the moment, that's allowing you to get to feeling tense a bit too often, a bit too quickly. and then we can talk about a new rule for actually, I only get tense if this happens. So what do you think your rule for the feeling tense has been? Because I'm going to gather it's going to be something very simple, very short, and it would be like if someone does this or someone does that, and that's a
I think it's what we discussed earlier. It's probably when I start feeling excluded from things.
Yeah.
I feel excluded from anything, like even if it's something to do with work, or I can't explain it, pies, or just exclusions, or but
good. So in terms of anytime we feel excluded, now again, I get excluded.
Like I said to you earlier about excluded out of somebody's life, don't want to be in their life. That makes me tense.
Yeah.
Now that's what I want, but I'm being excluded in that level of relationship, being put down to another level, which I don't want to be in that level, included in that level.
And that's perfectly normal, and it's totally understandable. And it's how humans are, because at the beginning of time you needed a community or tribe of people to survive. So in some ways we're battling kind of survival instincts. So it's not surprising that we feel tense or feel uncomfortable, and therefore part of it is actually, that's normal. It's perfectly fine. And actually having our own sense of understanding that it's okay that can happen, because it is uncomfortable. We don't like it. A lot of people will feel that tension or whatever, and they'll beat themselves up for feeling that uncomfortability or that tension or whatever it might be. It just stacks on extra things we've got to then unravel or unpick. So the thing is, it's okay to feel that way. But then to go back into, okay, well, so if our rule is feeling excluded, well, I feel excluded 10 times a day. I think, for a lot of people, they regularly feel excluded in one way or another. Sometimes it's genuinely being excluded from something. And if we've been excluded from one or two things, we start to look for it more as well. And even times when we're not really being excluded, we decide that's what, we call that exclusion as well. So if I got you to close your eyes and just picture the room, and then asked you, how many red things are in the room? If then I said, okay, instead of red, how about if you look around the room and you look for everything that's brown, look for brown, close your eyes and say, how many things in the room are blue? Well, what you've been trained to look for is everything that's brown. And so you find all these things that are brown. You weren't trained to look for blue. And so back to that exclusion thing is, when we feel it a few times, when we go through pain, we'll always do more to avoid pain. So we start looking for it more and more and more. And we start calling things brown, even when they're not brown. We start going, oh, that's brown as well, and that's brown as well. And actually, it's beige, or it's red, or it's something else, but we call it brown. So part of it will be creating a rule, but especially around things like exclusion and the idea of rejection, is actually having a meaning of what those things are. So you'll learn this, we'll do this later in the program, is actually having a meaning of what these things are. Is rejection, exclusion, I'm useless, I'm not good enough, I won't get what I want, there are people better than me, which will cause intense pain if that's what we think it means? Or do those things mean, you know what? Rejection is redirection. Actually, I'm moving towards something, life is pushing me towards something that'll be better for me. Actually, it's going to stop me making a mistake here. Actually, it's great that there's a force or an indicator that steers me to avoid pain. You can choose what that meaning is, but you can tell between those two meanings, if you experience exclusion and rejection, which one of those is going to empower you and which one of those is going to disempower you. So we now go back to that feeling of tension. What might be a rule, and you correctly mentioned that bit about continuously as well, which is great. So we now go back to tension, and we create a rule around tension, and even create a rule that might empower us. That actually, if I feel that tension from being excluded, that's a good thing, because it's going, this is not for you, let's go over here. Let's make sure life is actually doing me a favor here. And over time, that being reinforced as a message, we start to identify as that. So what do you think a rule for tension could be, Tony, that would stop you feeling tense as often or as frequently as you're doing at the moment?
I don't know. Use labels as examples. Think about the benefits of what's I feel tense. It's making me wake up to, is this right for me? There's a lot of what I've said to you this week, is this right? It's the way I've looked at this week, do I want this and is it right? I don't want to be intense. I don't want to feel this way. Perhaps I might be overthinking it, but am I right to overthink it? Yeah, that stage of conversation about just add am I right to think I've been excluded on purpose? And if I have been excluded on purpose, do I want to be with that person?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and all of those things are absolutely true. And so it's now creating something that feels concise and something that actually you can start to believe in. There's no point us creating something that we kind of go, it looks like some nice words on paper, that you can actually look at it and go, actually, yeah, that's probably true. That is probably true. And to go back to the stuff you've been reading, our brain is designed to find pain in those types of situations, in those settings. It's designed to do that. So it's not us. It's a piece of art called the limbic.
Yeah.
So actually training it, we have to consciously train it, and it's annoying we have to do that, but that's okay. That's fine. We can do that because all that's happening at the moment is it's just which message or which rule is being reinforced more often. What's being reinforced more often, as with most people, is rejection or exclusion, is pain, it's uncomfortable, we want, it means we're not good enough. Actually, well, we have this other thing which is just being reinforced continuously. Actually, we might start to believe one is better than the other and one's more empowering. So if you were to sort of create concise rule, but feel free to use the other rules that you've written down as sort of guides of how to write a good rule. Start to try and think of what a good rule would be for tension. So you could start it like with the other one. I avoid.
When I should do martial arts, she was too tense. You couldn't do it properly. Yeah, so you had to learn to relax. So a lot of times you just breathe or slow my breathing down. Just take a deep breath and relax myself, because tense muscles can't work as quick as relaxed muscles. So if you're too tense, worried, I should try and relax relax my mind.
Yeah.
Relax. It's just not. You feel yourself get tense. So you just try to relax with it. If you it's like I said to you when you ride a motorbike, if your arms are tense, you're not going to ride properly because your arms are like lumps of wood. But if you relax and think, I can do this, you can ride quite quickly, because you must relax, move quick up, because they're relaxed, aren't they? To stiff and like that, you can't.
Yeah.
So I always, if I feel tense about something, even if I'm riding in the rain or something, I just think, relax. Just relax and be aware of what's happening. Don't tense up. Just tensing up in the rain on a motorbike is probably the worst thing you can do. So you want to be when you're riding. So my go-to word in martial arts was just relax, and calm down, and think chi. Tai Chi. Just think about meditation. Get the zone I'm in when I meditate is the zone I try to get back in when I'm starting to feel tense. To go back into that zone of calmness and down. Not tense. I obviously don't know. I want to be calm, and even when I've been on holiday, to think of a nice place where where there's a turquoise sea and blue skies and holiday I was on. I thought, just take yourself back there when you was on that sunbed and think about that, how relaxed and how lovely, beautiful place was, and calm yourself down. Don't think about being tense. Don't go up the scale, start getting more and more tense. Try to go the other way, go down the scale to be not tense.
And the reason why all of that's really good is going back to that sort of, tension is a physical thing, so we've got to use our physiology. The reason why it's good to get to those places is because when we are tense, our cortisol level, our stress hormone, is through the roof. And that's part of what's causing the tension. And so, as we've spoken about previously with that model, is one of the first steps is getting the energy right. Absolutely. Because if we can get that cortisol down and increase that testosterone and oxytocin, your body will do most of the work for you. It will be easier then to take the right action. If your cortisol level's through the roof, for anyone, they will respond in the wrong way. So you're absolutely right. It's getting our physiology right. It's getting our body right, that we can slow things down, because what we're doing is the cortisol level is going down. And you know what? It might take us a couple of minutes. It might not be 10 seconds. It takes a couple of minutes where you just start to notice it, and the cortisol level keeps dropping. And then once you're there, now we can respond in a better way. So when we think about all of that, what I'd like us to do is, we've spoken previously about creating an identity that's associated with how we want to feel. What I'd like us to do is create something which is the shift of physiology we need to make, or focus, what we need to focus on, and then the type of language we use. And this is a situation where we're talking specifically about the language we use. And so if we had something where we knew how to shift our body, we knew what we needed to focus on, and we knew what type of language to use, then it gives you a lot of certainty that you can respond in the right way. Once we've got that right, I'd like to give that version of us a name. It might go back to Tony the singer that we've spoken about previously. Mm-hmm. It might be something else. It might be, I'm trying to think of a bit of a alliteration with the word T. That means calm. Maybe I'll think of one.
As we do Tai Chi, because that's what
Tai Chi Tony.
Tai Chi Tony. Get back into Tai Chi head on. Get your head on.
So it might be to do with that we label that, because that's so much easier. If we, instead of trying to remember a load of things in the heat of the moment, we're going to put in a few rules in place, a few things that Tai Chi Tony does. But in that moment, you can kind of go, you know what? Well, who do I need to be right now? I need to be Tai Chi Tony. And you just start to, even when you've got a name for something, you start to move in a certain way. You start to shift, your shoulders move, your head moves, and all of these sorts of things start to move. And that just gets out all of the kind of anything that's stuck in the body. And that's what usually is tension, is something stuck in the body. It's Tai Chi Tony, and you probably just find yourself just moving ever so slightly, and wherever it's stuck in the body, the energy, it sort of just gets released again. So you tell me, Tony, you tell me what, absolutely without question, in terms of what you do with your body, in terms of helping you relax, if that's the word you have in your mind, what without question would help you relax in that moment and get that cortisol level down? What do you know?
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to Court Studio ago about something, and I was quite nervous, worried about how the outcomes would be. And I just sat aside, crossed my arms over at Tai Chi, put my hand palms down to my stomach, and we used to say we breathe in good energy and exhale bad energy, or brown smoke, or black smoke, whatever you want to call it. And I just do that. I just sit there, breathe, and think. Just breathe in some good positive energy and breathe out some brown smoke or brown, and then start breathing in the good energy and actually physically trying to make my arms relax and then make my chest relax and then work my way down my body. And when I do feel super tense, that works for me. Doing them exercises.
Yeah.
I can do them anywhere other than, I've done the other night walking home, and I thought, just think about it, and it takes you back to that training or that time. Does that make sense? And I remember going to court. I thought, about 10 minutes before we go to court, I'm not going to start here thinking about, we can't do any more. The judge has got to read the reports and that, and what the judge is going to make up his own mind. Actually, I won the case anyway. And I thought, there's no point panicking outside the office, outside the court, getting tense and going in and being an idiot. Just go in there looking relaxed and confident about it. And so that's, that's how I do things, And so So, even with the motorbikes, I've had to nearly drove off a cliff once with it and just stopped. And I thought that was so close. I just sat on the bike and thought, just calm yourself down. You can get out of this mud and all the crap and then get back on the road again. Someone's forced off the road, a car forced into the road. And I did it. And within 10 minutes, I was calm, thinking, thank God I'm alive, and being thankful for being alive. But you're thinking, that was a very near miss. Dave, when you think, I could have got over the edge of that cliff with it. The girl coming on the wrong side of the road, on my side of the road, and I had to get round her. And she was so frightened at the edge of the mountain that pushed, come on my side of the road, and he took me out. I managed to get off the road on the mud and keep my bike upright so I didn't have an accident. But you think, thank God I was a bit calm. Not calm, your instinct kicks in. But if I got too super tense, I would have just grabbed that bike and grabbed the brakes and I wouldn't have had to steer out that problem. So I thought my survival mode kicked in, saying, you've got to not be tense. You've got to work this out. And then when you work that, it is physical. You actually feel you drain off. You just, the physical, your whole body seems, thank God. You're physically, you're exhausted for a couple of split seconds, but yeah. I'll be said about the finger this week, you've got in your stomach on your leg, so.
Great. And that's perfect because you've got examples of where it works. So like we talked about on confidence previously, when we talked about the visor and all of that stuff, where we're using those things and those triggers that actually we know we do when we're most confident. Yeah. Because we're just doing the same thing here. So
even this week, I know it's a petty thing, but I put my brand bin out sort of all the road free table, but I didn't put it in the middle of my front on a pavement so people trip over it. And the bin men went past and left it behind. I'm trying to get rid of a load of rubbish. And I thought, suddenly you got a bit tense thinking, you ain't took my brand bin. And I thought, no, get confident.
I've been there.
Yeah, don't get confrontation with the guy. So I walked outside, rolled the bin down the road after and said, I'm terribly sorry. It's my mistake not putting it out further out in the curb. Would you mind emptying it for me? And I was being confident that I want it emptied and being confident that it's my mistake. And there's nothing to do with him, no blame. I'm not trying to start animosity. It's a silly, stupid thing. But I thought, no, get your confidence head on there. Be confident what you want. I want to get this bin empty so I can fill it up again this week after cutting my tree down. I don't need a bin that's not empty, do I, David? So I've got to think, if I start shouting out like, oh, you've got my bin, mate, come back and get it. I wouldn't have got the result I wanted. So I feel confident. Don't get tense about it. Get the tense head gone and go out there and get things moving. Do what you want. What outcome do I want at the end of this 2 minutes? What do I want? The single empty bin, so I can put me blood stained leaves in there, can't I?
So what's perfect about that? And again, another example where you're looking at where and trying to find those common denominators. What are the examples when I'm doing these things and it's working? And actually, I have got plenty of examples of when I do get this stuff right. And so just to start pulling some of this together now is, firstly, when we look at those two examples, in terms of our body and getting that to being able to relax, just out of curiosity, that sort of process that you spoke about in terms of the breathing in your arms and all of that type of stuff, how long do you think that takes you to go through those steps and then to finally feel back in control and relax? Does it take you 30 seconds? Does it take you 5 minutes? How long does it take you to do that?
I used to do this to a Paul McKenna tape relaxation. Right? That used to just take me about 5 minutes. But now I can do it quite quickly because I can do, I'd say within 2 minutes, I can get myself thinking, oh, what are you doing? And then I don't even have to do all the relaxation, not relaxing my legs, my ankles, and I can get to be relaxed. So I can do it quite quickly now, rather than years before I used to sit down and lay in the bed and go through every part of my body and I still feel myself being tense, even though I'm trying to relax myself. But now the more practice I've done it, and just because I've got quite a stressful job, I used to say lunchtime, I'm going to have my lunch and I'm going to sit down and meditate for 5 minutes. And sometimes I think, well, you're where you want to be. You're so relaxed now for the second half of the day. So, I'm not going to be tense. If I didn't do it, David, it's like I'd get to be tense at lunchtime and I'd keep being tense.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I've done 4 hours and then I stop for a bit of lunch and I've nourished my body and then I think, right, I'm going to got another half hour for lunch, or I'm going to sit in the car and meditate, or I'm going to sit away from the office and meditate in the car. And then I feel right, you've relaxed, and then you can start again. It's like having another day. Does that make sense? You're not carrying the tension from the morning into noon. So, I can do it. So the only problem is, Dave, sometimes it makes me fall asleep. So I relax too much.
So what's the reason I asked that question is, a lot of what you're talking about is having the patience and the empathy and that sort of ability to be in control and slow everything down. And so in terms of your triggers, in terms of describing that relaxation process, if we were to come up with 3 little triggers, one of them might be to describe all of that rather than the actual action, is to say 2 minutes. To be calm and relaxed. Sometimes people put pressure on themselves that I've got to be able to respond. I've got to be my best self within the next 5 seconds. You don't. You might not feel not frustrated or not this or not that in 5 or 10 seconds. That's okay. You just don't have to get involved yet. So the first part might be, you know what? I've got to remember, what does Tai Chi Tony do? Okay, 2 minutes. I've got 2 minutes. Okay, don't try and jump in and rush in it. 2 minutes to get everything back down. And I might not even need all the 2 minutes, as you said. I might not need all of that. But it's that 2 minutes, because what I do when I'm sort of in my Tai Chi state, everything slows down. I don't have to do things in the next 3 or 4 seconds. Everything slows down. When we're relaxed and we're calm, not in a rush to do anything, we're composed. And I've spoken to you on occasions where I can tell where you're more agitated and when you're more composed. When I hear you talk about your work, I hear you talk about that in a fairly composed way. Even when you talk about arguments and all these different types of things, not arguments, discussions that you have to have, unfortunately, in business, I can still hear you talk about it in a fairly composed way, even if it's an intense thing. Maybe one of the triggers is actually, okay, it's 2 minutes. Everything just slows down. We keep reinforcing the idea of, if I just give 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes all the time, just to slow it down, 2 minutes is the reminder that it's 2 minutes to get everything right physiologically, okay? Because body has ramped up, cortisol's gone up, and I'm going to use my body in those 2 minutes to just slow everything down. So that might be one of those 3 triggers that we talk about when we start to design, okay, what's the Tai Chi version of me? It's 2 minutes, because when I'm doing Tai Chi, I don't get the Tai Chi, or if I do a Tai Chi class or whatever it might be, you don't do it in 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You warm up into it. Warm into the idea. And then by the end of that, you're your absolute peak best. And that's when we should want to involve and engage with people, because imagine what it'd be like if we engage with people when we're at our absolute peak. Conversations are better. You get more results, you get more solutions. Keep doing that often enough, then life starts to change very quickly. So what you heard in that conversation was us using something that the client could already relate to. You heard them bring up Tai Chi. When it comes to understanding stuff in life, we always want to use the reference points that people already have. If you want to ever learn how to explain something complicated to someone else, explain it in terms that they already understand. If you think of trying to explain the solar system to someone, but you showed them in the form of using like fruit as the various different planets, then they might actually get a deeper grasp or an actual understanding of, oh, at least I can understand it because I understand fruit. I understand if you show me the fruit is moving that way and it's moving that way. Oh, I can understand that. So that's what we want to do, and that's what we had in this conversation. He mentioned Tai Chi. He understood actually that's a place where I feel how I want to feel in the situation where I'm struggling. So why use anything else? He's got that reference point. He believes that that's a concept that, one, he understands, and two, that actually works for him. And then we just go into the specifics of actually, okay, what is it about that we can now leverage and bring into these moments? And then how can we describe it? And what is the principle of it? And you heard him talk about actually how he moves his physiology, because that tension is physical. So the best way to combat it is to combat it in a physical way. So it changes the physiology. Even when you heard him talk about, and these are the little things I try and pick up, even when you heard him talk about the Tai Chi, you heard everything start to slow down. He spoke about it very calmly because his physiology, just talking about it, adjusts. And then that's when we can also leverage a name, a version of us that's easily memorable, because in 2 or 3 years' time, when you have that moment again, I know how to get back there. In his case, it was Tai Chi Tony. Very catchy name. And so it's about creating an identity that you can start to identify with that can handle these situations. Because as we currently are, maybe we can't yet. But we can believe that a different part of us, a different version of us, a side of us can. And I know you will be able to believe this because you'll have had moments in your life where you've had to, under extreme tension, extreme pressure, extreme stress, and actually you handled it perfectly well. But you brought out a different side of you. And you might be thinking, how do I bring out that side of me in those situations? So it's about defining it. Once you work out what the sort of solution is, or the triggers, or the principles, or the foundations are, I create an identity. So you can always go back to it. So you can always remember it. You don't have to be that person all of the time. But you have something to go to. You have a place that you can go to. My name is David Holman. If you change today, today will change your life. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life. And I'll speak to you very soon. Just one more thing before you go. So I hope you're enjoying the daily episodes. We put in a lot of work to keep providing content, because to create permanent change needs consistency. To get that consistency, we want to make sure we keep providing you value on a daily basis. But to keep up with that pace, could we ask for one very small favour? If you could take the time to leave a 5-star rating either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'll put a link in the description for you to be able to do so. That really, really helps us out and helps us to keep providing content as frequently as we do. And we'll do one more thing to provide some extra value. If you take a screenshot of your rating or review and send it to selfbeliefchief@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram, I will provide you with a free coaching session with myself. Okay, so it'd be fantastic if you could leave that 5-star rating so we can keep providing content. Just simply click on the link in the description. It'll take you 20 seconds. And if you want to go one step further, take a screenshot of that rating and review, send it to selfbeliefchief@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram, and we'll arrange a free coaching session for you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day and see you on the next episode.